Natalie, and I'm so excited to continue our story in the Bible. And this week we're still in Genesis, which is the first book. A couple weeks ago, we talked about how God created everything around us. The stars, the earth, the animals, and even you and me. And we are created in the perfect image of God. So cool. And then last week we talked about the perfect place to live, the Garden of Eden. And inside the garden, Adam got to name all the animals, and then Eve was brought to him as his perfect partner. This week we're going to continue our story in the garden, but this one doesn't have a very happy end. But we'll get to that in a second. I want you all to tell me what this animal is. That's right, it's a snake. And what sound do snakes make? Hiss. Right, they make a hissing noise. So the snake this time is going to be a really big, important part of our story. And every time you hear snake, I want you to hiss, just like a snake. Are you ready? Let's get into our story. It was another beautiful day in the garden. Adam and Eve were walking around, gathering fruit, chatting with animals, and tending to the plants. And on their walk, they saw a snake that was going towards the center of the garden. Now, if you remember, there were two very special trees in the garden. One was the tree of life, and the second one was the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And the snake was going off towards those trees. Eve was curious and decided to follow the snake. And when she got there, she thought about when she had first gotten to the garden. God had said that they could eat from any tree except for those trees, because they would surely die. And so when she arrived behind the snake to the tree of knowledge of good and evil, the snake asked her if she would want to eat from the tree. And she said, "Absolutely not. God said that we must not eat of the tree, for if we do, even if we touch it, we will die." And the snake, knowing what God had said, asked, "Did he really say that you would die if you touch it? You won't die. You will become like God because you will be wise." Eve looked at the tree and saw that the fruit, it was beautiful, like mouth-wateringly good. And she wanted to be wise. I mean, who wouldn't want to have knowledge and smartness? And God was so amazing. She wanted to be amazing. And so knowing that even though it would be disobeying, she still reached up and took off a fruit, smelled it. It smelled really good, and took a huge bite. It was really good. And she thought, "I can't keep this to myself," and gave some to her husband. And Adam took the fruit, and even though he knew he shouldn't, he also took a huge bite. And once they had done that, they looked down and around them, and they became so afraid. They knew what they did was wrong. They knew that God would probably be angry with them. and that they had disobeyed God's commandments. And they got a queasy feeling in their stomach. It didn't feel so good. And they were so afraid that they hid. They heard God's voice. And that queasy feeling in their stomach came back. And God asked, "Where are you? Where are you?" Adam finally replied, "I am here, but I was afraid, and so I hid." And God saw the fruit that had 2 huge bites out of it, and his heart broke. And he asked, "What happened?" And Adam went, "It was the woman, Eve, that you gave to me. She gave me some of the fruit and made me eat it." And Eve was also scared, and she said, No, it wasn't me. It was the snake who tricked me. He tricked me into eating some. And so God turned to the snake and was very angry. And he said to the snake, "You will be punished. You will crawl along the ground, and your face will always be close to the dirt. And one day, one of Adam's children will rise up, and he will crush your head." And Adam and Eve, they could stay in the garden. They weren't perfect anymore. They had sinned. They disobeyed God. And only perfect things could live inside the garden. And so God took some animals and took the skins of those animals and made some clothing. And life was now going to be really hard for Adam and Eve. But God knew that one day one of Adam's children would rise up. One of Adam's children would become the perfect person again. And that person was Jesus. Jesus came and lived out one of the lives of a human, but he never disobeyed God. He never sinned. And then he was able to crush the serpent's head and pay for all of our sins. So as we move into our time of small groups today, I want you to discuss with your teachers and friends, what was the time that you disobeyed? Whether it would be God or your parents or a teacher, when was the time that you sinned? And what happened? Also, share with each other a God sighting. I'll tell you mine. Mine this week was I had an apple with lunch, and I tasted God's goodness in that apple. I thought about all the nutrients that I was able to get, and I was amazed once more at the fact that God had created all of it. And I was so glad that I was able to enjoy his creation. So next week we're going to continue our story, but until then, I'll see you all next time. Bye!